I'm Roy, and this is the story of owning and sailing my Moody 31 yacht, Mistress Q. Based at Instow on the North Devon coast, it is the highs and lows of cruising in the Bristol Channel and beyond, where every passage is a new adventure. With the boats having to be off the water in the Torridge estuary from November to April, the arrival of spring is eagerly anticipated, with frenetic activity in the boat park preparing for launch day. 2025 was no exception, with last-minute jobs being completed on Mistress Q and key sailing dates booked in the diary. One of the most popular being the 50-mile round Lundy race from Ilfracombe. But first I need to get Mistress Q back on the water. Welcome back on board Mistress Q. It's a month longer off the water than I originally planned, but it's my own fault for breaking my hand. In fact, fracturing 3 bones in my hand, which is recovering but a little bit slowly. However, the delay did give me an opportunity to finish a number of jobs on the boat, not least of all to complete the installation of a 100-watt solar panel and the controller and wire that through, and also put on some battery condition monitoring and a complete rewire of the control panel. And I'll show you some photographs of that later on. So it's great to be back on the water. It's a beautiful evening here at Instow, and I just wish we were out sailing instead of talking about sailing. However, that'll be the next time. The rewiring project included designing an adjustable frame and fitting a 100-watt solar panel over the transom, a solar regulator, controller, a new battery isolator, battery charging relay and digital voltmeters, plus a rewired control panel with 12-way fuse panel and LED lights. The post-launch Shakedown sail was limited to the estuary by my fractured hand, literally sailing single-handed, which presented a few challenges. But a night on board with my wife Kathy gave us a chance to check everything was working and enjoy dinner and a beautiful North Devon sunset. Even the radar was finally working as it should after some special magic administered by John Rice. So at last, after 2 months of nursing my fractured hand, I've been at least cleared to go sailing this weekend up to Lundy up to Ilfracombe to take part in the Lundy race, and really looking forward to it. So tonight I'm alongside the crane jetty here at Instow. You can see it behind. I've got Ollie the owl up on top of the boom to keep me company. I'm just about to make supper and get my head down for the night, because it's an early start in the morning. This was the first time I'd sailed with the new Rolly Tasker fully battened mainsail, which felt really stiff in the strengthening breeze. I was joined by Andy, who has sailed with me previously, for the passage up to Ilfracombe. We were making good progress against the tide in beautiful sailing conditions and would be arriving well before high water in Ilfracombe. We arrived off Ilfracombe in the early afternoon and borrowed the RNLI's relief mooring, waiting for sufficient water to pick up a visitor buoy in the outer harbour. Thank you, Ilfracombe Lifeboat. Having picked up a visitor mooring, we wasted no time in finding the bar and showers in Ilfracombe Yacht Club, which has hosted the Round Lundy race for some 24 years and is always most welcoming to visiting sailors. The race started at 0800 the following morning, so after planning our passage and, to a lesser extent, race tactics, we welcomed the third member of our crew, Phil, on board and prepared for the race with coffee and croissants. What else? The start for the race is just off the harbour to give the spectators a good view, and in a freshening force 3 to 4 wind from the southwest, it was a challenging start with a large fleet and a short start line. We timed our start on the starboard tack almost to perfection and amazed ourselves to be third across the line, just ahead of our Commodore Sam in parole, but were quickly overtaken. Our first beat was close hauled to keep close to the shore and the stronger tidal stream around Malt Point, before heading directly towards Lundy some 20 miles away. As we approached Lundy, the island was shrouded in mist. We headed for the southern end of the island before passing up the west side to complete the course south about, before heading back to Ilfracombe. By this time the fleet was spread all across the Bristol Channel, and we only had fleeting glimpses of boats ahead of us and those behind. As soon as we rounded the northern end of Lundy, we could set the cruising chute and enjoy the afternoon sunshine and light airs as we headed back towards Ilfracombe. Just as Phil was having fun with the 360-degree camera, we noticed one of the full-length battens in the mainsail was working free from its pocket, so the mainsail was partially lowered and Andy set about getting the batten back in place. The approach to Ilfracombe past Baggy Point and Mort Point with the incoming tide means maintaining a course close inshore to be certain of crossing the finishing line.
Holiness. So you got any, like, I would have thought if you were into mechanical,
It's restoration. Never had the time. Then, with the cruising chute still flying, we crossed the line in misty conditions before dropping the sails and returning to our mooring in the outer harbour.
I've always fancied something like
After securing the boat, it was time for a crew photo before heading for the bar and a meal in Ilfracombe Yacht Club, which really did put on a great show for the visiting yachts and crews. Thank you, Ilfracombe.
I'd also like to thank Bobby, Team Bobby and her staff for their support today, and also Gus and John Clements for doing the barbecue, along with my good lady wife Jane.
We said goodnight to Phil, and all too soon it was time to return to Instow on the early tide the following morning, reflecting on our round Lundy race 2025 and of course making plans for next year. Thanks to Phil and Andy for joining me on the 2025 race, and here's to the next time. So that was the Lundy race, Round Lundy race 2025, an excellent event organised by Ilfracombe Yacht Club. Mistress Q is now safely back on mooring at Instow, and I guess it's time to reflect on the race. What went well? Well, had superb crew, and that was Andy and Phil who joined me for this trip. And the race organisation was brilliant, as always, up at Ilfracombe. And although the weather and conditions were mixed, it really was an excellent race. Did we win? No, sadly not. We're in the most competitive of classes, and to get 16th overall out of the fleet I think is pretty good, and it shows an improvement on the last two races I've done. So there's always another year, another opportunity, another Lundy race. Other things that went well is the new Rolly Tasker mainsail was brilliant, except, and it's probably our fault, a couple of the lower full length battens popped out, and we had to replace them, or not all the way, but refasten them on the way around. What else worked well? The Rolly Tasker cruising chute that I've used several times before took us all the way back once we grounded Lundy from the south to the north on one single tack all the way and across the finishing line. It's something I've always wanted to do, cross the finishing line under full asymmetric spinnaker, and we did it. It was brilliant. What didn't go so well, don't dwell on the negatives, but we had a problem with the fuel filter unscrewing and spewing diesel into the sump and the bilges. It was only detected by Phil, who went down below because we weren't using the engine, said, "I can smell diesel." And on inspection, the actual fuel filter had managed to unscrew itself. It can't have been tightened up properly, and believe me, I've had a word with the engineer who did the job this morning to say it really shouldn't have happened. So that was a bit of a downer, but we've recovered from that. Other things that didn't work so well, and it was something I was already aware of, and that is, although I had this fantastic new Rolly Tasker mainsail, I hadn't allowed for the volume being larger than my previous mainsail, and so in other words the stack pack was awfully tight. I mean awfully tight, almost impossible to zip up. So this morning I've actually taken the stack pack off, and I shall get some extension pieces or gussets put into that so it's ready for next time. Otherwise, absolutely delighted with the performance of Mistress Q as always. The weather yesterday was pretty murky, pretty misty at times, and some drizzle, and inevitably this morning I've come to clean down the boat, and of course brilliant sunshine. So that's it, end of this particular adventure. We'll see you next time. Thanks, bye. Join me next time for episode 11 of Sailing Mistress Q, when I'll be taking Mistress Q to the Channel Islands for the Army Sailing Association Rally. See you soon.